So welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence Thursday night Creator Convos. I'm Noel Marshall and I'm here with my beloved.
Hi everyone, this is Bob Warner and we are so delighted to have Gail with us this evening and have all of you watching us on Facebook Live as well as here in the Zoom room, and those of you that see this later on our archives in timeless time. Thank you for being with us, Gail. Noel?
Thank you, Gail, and Gail Nystrom, we're going to dig in just a little bit later and tell you more about Gail. But right now, I just want to welcome everyone. And I want to play a little video that tells you a little bit about the Co-Creators Convergence. So stand by. So that is a little bit about the Co-Creators Convergence. And before we get started, now we'd like to I've asked Bob to do a very short centering, and he's going to use something that we learned in Damanhur, Italy. If you're not familiar with that, it's an eco-spiritual community recognized by the United Nations and built in secret in the late 70s, and about 700 people live there. It's like an experimental civilization. So Bob, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being in this sacred circle this evening. And I'm going to light a candle this evening, representing the flame in all of us. Throughout time, fire has been at the center of rituals, of ceremonies, and of gatherings. In mystery schools throughout the ages, fire has been used as a connection to the sacred and to the divine. When we light this flame, it represents the same flame that all around the world and throughout time. It is the fire that our ancient forebears sat around and told stories, and tonight we're going to hear stories. It is the same fire that our parents and grandparents cooked on and that perhaps we roasted marshmallows on. Fire connects all of us to each other through time and space. In our gatherings, we bring awareness to the elemental flame as we light our candle, this sacred flame, to witness our experiences and our deep work. And tonight it will be witness to us, bearing witness to Gail's gift to the shift in humanity. The candle we light is a mirror of the flames within each of us, our eternal divine spark. As a part of this special gathering tonight, we set aside a special candle just for this evening. Thank you for being with us, Gail.
Thank you, Bob. And I also light that candle for all the suffering in the world, particularly the earthquake victims. And I really appreciate your bringing that to us, Bob. So thank you. So welcome, Gail Nystrom. Now, before I give her a formal introduction, I want to tell you a little bit about how we happened to hook up with Gail. We are in Costa Rica, and Gail posted on Facebook about something that's very tragic that happened in her community where she has her foundation. And a mutual friend looked at her Facebook post and said, my goodness, Gail said this tragic thing happened in her community, and she was very helpful in that situation. And so I said, you know, that name sounds familiar. And I looked on my Facebook and I said, yeah, we're Facebook friends. And so I right away, we didn't have, that much time left in Costa Rica. So I sent her a message right away and said, Gail, we've never met. And, we've been on each other's Facebook page a few times, but it really would be wonderful. I've heard wonderful things about what you're doing, and I'd love to find out more. And so let's just say that we got together. We had extraordinary adventures together. Gail took us up to the volcanoes, to national monuments, and we can talk about that later. But it was extraordinary coming together. And I would say it was the highlight of our trip, really, to meet you, Gail, and learn about the work that you're doing at the Costa Rica Humanitarian Foundation. And that's what we're going to learn more about tonight. And so I'm going to just tell you a little bit, that's how we came together. It was just like, okay, so here's the other thing. Gail was a student of Barbara Marx Hubbard. And everyone knows that we are students of Barbara Marx Hubbard, and that's how the Co-Creators Convergence, we've been doing this for 10 years. That's how this all came together. So Barbara Marx Hubbard said, you two got to meet each other. Did she ever do that to you, Gail? She'd go like, you two got to meet each other and do something together. And you go like, I do? And she said, yeah. So even from the beyond, I can feel Barbara Marx Hubbard going like, you two got to meet each other. So we immediately invited her to be our guest tonight. So let me just tell you a little bit about her formal bio. She is a native of the United States and has lived and worked in Costa Rica for the past 35 years. She's born and raised in Virginia and New Jersey. And she received a master's degree in special education at, special education, University of Denver. In 1978, Gail came to Costa Rica as a member of the Peace Corps and worked to, in special ed and had that experience, and literally went around the country setting up programs. Then she remained in Costa Rica after her Peace Corps assignment, and she decided to dedicate herself to supporting at-risk populations as they search for ways to improve the quality of their lives. So Gail lives in Santa Ana, Costa Rica, and she has 3 children, Felipe, Francisco, and Sarah. So that's a little bit about our star tonight. And Gail, you took Barbara Marx Hubbard at her word, sharing your gift to the shift in humanity. And I want to turn it over to you to, bring the rest. I've been talking about you. So I want you to bring the rest into understanding. You've been in Costa Rica for 40 years and what you have done and what populations you work with and how we can also support you. So, Gail?
Okay. Yes. Thank you for such a nice introduction and such a nice flame. I've been out on the road all day today. We got caught in traffic. And so we got home. I'm not home. I couldn't get home. So I'm camped out in a hotel outside. So I'm glad I got here, and I'm glad you guys invited me. And I know that I know now more than ever, always, that there's never a coincidence in the world. And it's when you talk about how we met, it's interesting because I read all your Facebook things, and I always said, oh gosh, they went across the country in a camper. I would do that. Oh gosh, they went in to do that. And then, oh, Peace Pilgrim did that. And Bob and Noel did that. I could do that. That was so funny. And then when you called me, it was like, you said, would you have time? And I never have time. I never have time to do something out of the unexpected because I'm always got a list of things to get going. And the minute you called and said, this is Noel, I go, okay, well, let's get together. I mean, it was just supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed our visit to Guayabo also, because I think there was a lot of very important thought processes that went on there. So that's where I am right now. Are my glasses bothering the reflection?
If you need them, you need them. So just,
Yeah, I sort of need them. Yeah, I can
and you
see.
just, then that's perfect.
Okay, I'll try to. No, I can't do it. Okay. So I would like to talk just a short bit about my process as who I am now, how it all began. And I told you guys a little bit about it, but when I was 7 years old, I had a vision message, and it was about helping people or making the world a better place. I'm taking these glasses off, they're too crazy. So and I remember it was the Pleiades that I looked up at in the second floor story of my parents' home. I guess I was 8 because I was in 3rd grade. And I said, I will do whatever you want me to do, as long as you give me the resources or whatever I need. And that's happened throughout my life, because I've always tried to do what the higher power wants me to do. And I've always been given the resources that I need, even when I didn't even recognize that there were resources that I needed. So I'm now sharing these stories more openly than I have in the past, because I read that more and more people have been having these kinds of experiences. So on the physical plane, I started doing humanitarian work when I was very young. When I was 12, I babysat for a severely handicapped child. I was the first one to start a program for mentally retarded. That's what they used to call them then in my community. There's a whole long list. But the big deal was that President John Kennedy, came up with this quirky idea of a army of peace. He called it an army of peace, in which young people would go to foreign lands and, help the people. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was meant to do. I mean, I knew it from the very beginning. Luckily, he did change the name from the unfortunate name of Army of Peace to Peace Corps, which is so much more spiritually appropriate. I get the notice that I'm going to go to the Peace Corps, and I applied to work in Africa because I spoke very good French. So I get the notification, you will be going to Costa Rica. And I said, oh, wonderful. An island off the west coast of Africa. That's just what I want to do. And because we didn't have Waze yet, okay, for those of you who have never lived without Waze, I went to the 1963 World Book Encyclopedia, and I looked up Costa Rica, and I see all these quirky people in funny little white hats picking coffee. And I go, well, that looks like an interesting thing. Anyways, I arrive in Costa Rica, and I was so clueless about what to do and what I was and where I was and so on and so on. But I don't know, something made me not give up and keep going. And before I knew it, I was traveling all over the Costa Rican country and fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people, the way they act, their ideals, the way I'm delving so much into the great history of Costa Rica. And one of the first places I went as an excursion in the Peace Corps was to a place called Guayabo. That's where Noel and Bob and I went. This was in 1978. And I went there and I just said, oh my gosh, what is this place? And all my years of living in Costa Rica, I've done pilgrimages to this place because I think that this place, even though there's no buildings, there's only a few mounds and ruins, but I think that this place is a library that the I don't want to say people, but I guess I'll say people who lived there left behind a vast wealth of knowledge to share. And they could not, it's like a library without books, because books could get burned or stepped on or wet or whatever. They left, somehow they downloaded information there. So I do go to Guayabo on pilgrimage very often, especially in the years before, because now it's like so much part of me that I don't really need to go physically that much. So, okay. The second year of Peace Corps is, my birthday is October 12th. And I always felt an affinity for Indigenous peoples, always, because that was Columbus Day. And you know, that was a great day when Columbus discovered America and made friends with the Indigenous. Well, we know it's not quite like that, but it was, I have always felt that way. So I wanted to go live on an Indigenous reserve as the second year of my Peace Corps. So I got sent to a very remote place, and I couldn't even describe how I knew that this is my home. I was the only and first non-Indigenous, well, I would say white person that the people had seen, and my blue eyes scared them because they thought that blue eyes are witches. And so I made friends with them because I had a horse that was blonde and had a ponytail, and the horse liked me, and the horse's baby liked me. So the people thought, okay, she's all right. I spent my year there, and Peace Corps was over. What do? I have no idea. But I always thought I have to go back to New Jersey. It was a terrible year. I had such a hard time readjusting to the US culture. And this was in 1981, mind you, before it was like it is now. So I was, wow. And I came back to Costa Rica. My first experience back was I got asked to teach Salvadorian refugee children who had fled from the war in their country to Costa Rica. This is where I lost my political virginity. And I did a lot of research and met a lot of people who had come from other countries, refugees and political asylum seekers and children. And they all told the same story, you know, we're just not doing a very good job of being the leader of the world that we could be. Anyways, I set a program up to work with those children and their parents. And after 9 years, the war in El Salvador was declared finished by Reagan because he had gotten in trouble with his Iran-Contra situation. So all the people went back and I had an empty space. So I said, oh, wonder what I could do now. And you know, why did I ask that? Because of course there was a plan. I'm driving down the road in San Jose and I see children skipping, running, jumping here, there, everywhere in the garbage, looking for food, going up back to sit down on a piece of cardboard on the street, on the sidewalk. And these were what we call street children. And somehow in my mind, I said, these are my children who I need to work with now. I said, what they need is a roof over their heads and 3 square meals a day, education, because I'm a teacher, so I believe everybody needs education, and something meaningful to do with their lives. So I didn't know that they were all addicted to glue sniffing and marijuana. We didn't have, luckily, fentanyl and all those other drugs yet, but they were pretty wild because they were, sniffing glue and smoking marijuana all the time. Anyways, I took them home. And the time when I took them home, from the time I took them home, statistically, the crime rate in San Jose, Costa Rica went down because they were all robbing, stealing, being rambunctious. And I just said, okay, so these are my kids. And to this day, I still have some of them. A lot of them were murdered. And a lot of them went, like the ones from Nicaragua went back to Nicaragua. But they're my dear hearts. And they were naughty. And I had to learn to see the child and not the action. They were 12 years old, So one of the projects that I wanted to do with the street kids was something to help society. And I found out about this community called La Carpio, where all the poor people of Costa Rica lived, very poor people. So I drove into La Carpio. It was a dirt road. All the houses were tin shacks. And I cooked up a scheme where the street kids would build a clinic for La Carpio. It was extraordinary because these street kids were not used to doing positive things for society necessarily. And they built this clinic together with me. And they would go out and smoke a joint and then come back and mix cement and then go out and have a little glue. But anyways, it got built and it was sanctified by the local priest and by a group of really cool students from Alaska that were visiting us and helping us. And that's how my work in the Carpio began. I haven't left there since. I've been there every day almost ever since then. So the boy that you read about in the woman, that was the woman that got hit by a truck. She was in the Carpio. So how have I come to perceive this place? If I get really way out there, wooey, I think it's a vortex. And I think it's a place where humanity's struggles are played out in a community that can work together to evolve and co-create and do what Barbara talked about. I forgot to also mention in 2012, I started on the conscious journey of the conscious evolutionary. What is it again? The sacred journey. Got it. The sacred journey of the conscious evolutionary. And I did that work with Barbara for over a year. And I really, I have 3 mentors, women in my life, and Barbara's one of the big ones. I really believe in her work and I really believe in what she was trying to do. And I really admire her tenacity. Because who ran for vice president in 1984? If you were a woman, that you didn't know. But I always felt that I was part of Barbara's sphere of influence. And so I carry that with me when I do things in the Carpio and other places. It's a very long story. It's soon to be a book. And the book is going to be called Who Does That? It's going to be the name of my book. Who does that? There's so many things that I've done. and I, even now, when I was talking to you all about the things that I've done, and I just said to myself, Gail, who does that? So I think I ought to cut short now so that you can tell me if you need any more information.
Well, Gail, what I'd like to do is to show the 4-minute video about La Carpio, and it
About
was
foundation.
of the foundation from your website. And just to, if I remember correctly, it is the largest slum in Central America, about 25,000 that live there, and what you now call an upperly mobile poverty community. It's gone, you don't use slum because these people are really doing things to provide for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like a peninsula where 2 polluted rivers come together, and they're literally hanging on the sides of the mountain there. And right across the street is the, I guess it's the largest landfill in the country. So these conditions that I think there are about 25,000 people that live there. But let me not say too much more. Why don't we go to your website and let me show that video, and
Okay.
and then we'll come back and talk some more. So hold on just a moment.
That's My name is Gail Nystrom, and I'm the founder and director of the Costa Rican Humanitarian Foundation. I came to Costa Rica 40 years ago as a result of a lifelong dream. I've dedicated my life to working with at-risk populations all over the country. A lot of our work is focused in a community called La Carpio. Originally, it was an abandoned coffee plantation between 2 rivers, and the people who went to live there were leaving Nicaragua. They had been through generational poverty, earthquakes, hurricanes, government repression, war, and economic collapse. And people realized that there was no hope for their future if they stayed. So that's how they came, walking down this dirt path to get into this abandoned coffee plantation. When they got there, they would build their houses using 4 sticks and some plastic with some cardboard on top. In the beginning years, La Carpio was considered the most dangerous place in all of Costa Rica. It was the only slum in this country and maybe the largest slum in all of Central America. But it's not that way anymore. It's not a slum anymore. It's an upwardly mobile poverty community. I really believe that because of the work that we've done in La Carpio is a very different community from what it would have been. Because the people have hope. They have something to hold on to. They have a meaning for their lives. And it's not to say that only our organization provided that, but we provided the seed for that, and then they themselves realized that if they got better education, better healthcare, better housing, they would have a better life, and they would have no need at all to send their kids out to do prostitution or to become robbers or to get involved in the drug trade. Everybody talked about peace, world peace, peace to you, peace to me. But peace is an abstract concept.
well-being is what creates peace. Peace doesn't come by itself. If you have well-being, you're automatically going to have peace. It goes hand in hand. Individual, family, community, and country. I would like to spread our vision of well-being and peace and hope so that we can solve some of these difficult problems that we're facing right now in the world.
Every time I see that, Gail, and I have shared that so many times, it just really touches my heart what you've done there. And it's so familiar to be in some of those rooms that we got to visit and see some of those familiar faces. But let me just tell you a little bit more about some of the programs Gail introduced us to there. Right, I think just what I'm just going to rattle off a few, Gail, and then you help me. But I think you said yesterday and today you had 30 students from Pepperdine University that came down and did some volunteer work, and you have doctors coming. They're going to do a clinic in March and see about 200 people. We also got to meet your teen group. The teen group came in. And they make things, and you know, I forgot my little purse I bought from that one gal. I have to find that somewhere.
I have it. I have it in a safe place, along with your 2 hats.
You have to send it back with Olivia. But anyway, so that the teen group, you know, she does so much with them to provide and you know, to teach them about. This is what Gail does. There was an accident, that tragic thing happened. There was an accident in front of her building. And so what does she do? The next thing, we're having an education program about safety. The teenage girls, you know, we're getting to talk about how you should be treated as a woman, you know, what respect looks like, and, you know, about domestic violence. She has, 2 Montessori schools? That you've started. I think you've 3, that she's probably built another one since we've been gone a week.
Watch out. Yeah, we've only just begun.
Yeah, I think you've built over 500 different structures throughout Costa Rica in your 40 years there, different. And what's your latest one? We didn't know about this. It's a indigenous library. Tell us about that, Gail.
Video, and it really moves me so much, because I know all those kids today. They're parents now. A lot of them are parents, and they're their kids. And Marisol, the one teacher, it's sort of, well, they're all bright and smiley, but Marisol has 3 children of her own, and she now runs one of our centers. And she's just decided that she's going to study preschool education in college. She's going to go to college, university. So what they were then, it's continued. So, okay, what was your question about the libraries? Well, during my adventures of my life, I've been a writer. I wrote my first book when I was in 3rd grade, and it was called The Birds. And I drew pictures of birds and wrote something about them. I think I could barely write.
I'm breaking up a little bit.
And yeah, I know it's going to be hard. Let me know if it gets better. Is it better now?
Yeah, better now.
And so I have started to publish the books. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And I said, well, if I'm going to publish books, then let me see, we need a library for the books. So anyways, we're going to start building libraries. Where our first one is almost finished. They got the roof on. They're doing the finishing details. I'm going to go down there probably next week and get it set up with books and everything. The books that I write are called My Book is My Friend, and it teaches children, hopefully, and adults too, to interact with the written word.
And they're in Spanish and
And
English.
there's projects that we do. Yes, and then one of them is in Spanish, English, and Bribri, which is the native language.
Oh,
And so, so it's like I have the books now. I need a library to put them in instead of the other way around. So that's going to be my.
who would do that?
Who does that? So my vision is to have that be my what would I call it? My sunset projects.
Oh, you're way too young for that.
Yeah, that's what you think. Okay. So that's just, yeah.
Well,
That's about that.
Let's talk about the food service that you did during COVID and how that came about.
No, we're still doing it. We're still doing it.
Yeah.
So
I know I helped carry food up those 23 steps. You saw those little girls running up. We made one stop at a store to pick things up. But go
so
ahead, Gail.
I got
Nope, freezing up a little bit.
funded by a UNHCR employee that worked in the office of the UNHCR. And he said, Gail, we're all earning $5,000 a month salaries, all of our fellow workers, and we feel very guilty. We would like to do something for your organization to help the people of the Carpio, who were at that point only recently arrived refugee kids. Oh, wonderful, I said. So come in on Saturday and you can play with the kids. He never showed up. He never called me. Nothing ever came of it. But you see, here's the thing. Be patient. And what you want will happen. Because somehow or another, he is related to the owners of the highest level supermarket chain in the country called Automercado. And so they got in touch with me and they said, can you receive donations of food that's day-old bread or, shelf life expired or slightly damaged and distribute it? This was 10 years ago. I can do that. I do that.
Of course you could do that.
Say we can do that. Well, lo and behold, it has grown from a little teeny project that we received from 2 supermercados, and we fed maybe 10 people a day. It's become so big. We have 7 supermarkets that are donating to us of the chain. And we have 20 people working to pick up the food, collect the food, bring the food. So I'm adding 2,000 people a week. I never dreamed that I would be doing that, but now that I look back, I said, yeah, I did dream of it. I just wasn't caught up to my dream yet when it happened. So that's our food program. So, and these 20 people are all refugees who came. Some of them were sleeping on the street. Some of them were in the Contra, against the revolution in Nicaragua. So politically, they were very in danger. And we've set up this program, and it's amazing what they do. And I'm not doing it. I mean, they are completely on their own. Over here, we're saving it for, okay. And how much the people give us a donation. The people receive the product, give us a small amount of money, and we use that money to pay a stipend to the 20 people who are working. So I say, what was the result of the money this day? How did you spend it? What happened? No. So they know that I'm on it, but they know that I'm not on top of them. It's great. 3 of the people can't even read and write, and they can do math better than I can, which really isn't saying that much because I'm not that good at math. But anyway, it's amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, so
The
you would
food
think
program.
that when you're ministering, I'm calling it administrate because that's just how I have to see it, is that no one takes a salary, including Gail.
No.
Everything is by private
no one-
donations.
Yeah.
This isn't a government NGO.
Yeah. It is an NGO. It's a legally registered NGO in Costa Rica, but there are no salaries because I did not want to be that UNHCR guy earning $4,000 a month and feeling guilty. And I did not want that breach, that, what's the word in English? That gap between me and them.
Yeah. So the ones who do the food distribution program, they do get a stipend based on, because what I understand is that when somebody comes and needs funds, you don't just write them a check. You don't just say, here's, however many colones. It's like if it's rent, you'll give them 25%, or if it's for food. So they're paying what, 10 cents or 20 cents on the dollar for the food, which includes fresh vegetables, chicken, bread, all kinds of desserts. I saw that. I didn't get any, but yeah, I didn't eat any.
You should have asked. We could have given you whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really amazing that you're doing all this. This is just divine providence. I mean, this is.
It is. It is. Yeah.
It's like Dorothy Day Catholic Worker House kind of on steroids.
Yes. Yes. And Dorothy Day is another one of my people that I really admire. Yes. And it's true. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's not that I went in there and said, I'm going to do 2,000 people. It was always step by step by step, and then 5 steps backwards, and then 1 step forward, and being never failing, never not going, never not being available. And that's how we grew. So, yeah.
And so La Carpio, what are their, what kind of, how large a community do you serve, would you say?
There would probably be very few people in the Carpio that have not had some benefit from us. Because, I mean, we paint houses. We painted 4,000 houses. We've given out 4,000 bunk beds. Think about bunk beds, how important they are. We've done upgrades on hundreds of houses. We've bought 50 houses for mostly single mothers, heads of household. We've given plants out, so that people can beautify their houses. We've given seminars, health workshops, health care. Oof. It's 25 years, I mean, you get a lot done in 25 years.
Yeah. And you
then
have
the other part of the program is
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, just the other part of the program is the volunteer program. We have seen 20,000 volunteers in 20 years.
Wow.
And this is teenage groups that come down. Their parents send them away for the summer to go do good works. And we teach them. We have a whole seminar on what does works. It's a workshop that I give. So we're working at the short term, medium term, and long term. Whatever they call it, short term, long term, and medium term. Yeah.
And all age groups. And I'll just tattle on you some more of these great works that you're doing. She's like her own, runs her own social work.
Yeah.
When we were there, she they come, a mother, I think she was a single mom with her baby in her lap, and then brought her grandmother, and you interviewed them, and I know, five words in Spanish, so I was able to follow along a little bit. And you said she had a good living situation, that they had a roof over their head and running water and a bathroom. And the woman was there. She wanted to get 2,000 colones, which is equivalent to about $3, because she wanted to buy sugar so she could make these little confections to sell. And that was one of the cases. And then so she has these Contra revolutionaries that are like her right-hand people, and they're there to, they make everything work, don't they, Gail? I mean, they're just,
Yeah.
And one of them was studying the university and studied English for 5 years, and says
Yes.
his favorite author is Hemingway.
Hemingway, right? That's Iro. I always give him books. I'm giving him Sartre. I'm giving him Viktor Frankl, and he's plowing through. Yeah,
They're just wonderful that you have that support, and all of them. And then you had another that came in for a health reason. They needed some help, it's just we're associated with a very small Dorothy Day Catholic worker house in Wisconsin. And Father Joe says, we always say yes and do what we can. And it just sounds like you're much the same. You make everyone develop their own self-worth and self-sufficiency, but you're helping them all along the way to get the legs that they need to do that. And it was just fascinating to watch. Now, there's something else about Gail, is that your whole organization really, flies under the Costa Rican radar, because if you had to get all of their, so we can't say this. So let's just say,
it's legal.
yeah.
Okay, the organization is completely legal. We have attorney, we have accountants, we report to the tax people every year. They come and do inspections. Our Scotia Bank, where we have our bank account, they're so annoying, but they show up. I mean, I don't care, but it's like, oh God, why? They show up and do an inspection. If we're really doing what we say we are, where does our money come from? Are we a drug laundering organization? Blah, blah, blah. So under the radar means, because I do unusual things like pick up street kids off the street, the child welfare department doesn't know what to do with me, because they don't pick up kids off the street. They don't do that. Only I do that. So one of my favorite stories was, I had 20 of them living in the house, and the fellow from the county, the child welfare, came out, and he walks around the house and he looks around and he sees all the kids there, and they were studying and writing and laughing and kibutzing, and he says, but you only have 2 bathrooms. And I said, well, what bathroom did they have when they live on the street? And he said, oh, and then he says, but they don't have curtains on the windows. I go, oh God, please. No, we don't have curtains because we're eating food. We're not putting up curtains. And then what was the other thing he said? And those were the 2 big ones. And so then he said, well, he said, I don't know, you can't do this. Betty, they're going to take you away. And he ran out to the car, got in the car, and never seen again. So they let me do these things because they don't know what to do about it. And it works, it's benign neglect.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. So
I didn't mean to infer that you were doing anything illegal. In fact, when you go to her website, which is loaded with information, how you can volunteer, how you can donate, where it's located. Everything you want to know is there. And she has very detailed reports for every year of what they've done, what they've accomplished. So, you know, she has an annual report like any other. I mean, it is a U.S. 501c3, correct? Am I correct in that? No.
No.
We affiliated. Am I back?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay.
Get back.
We affiliated with Wells Mountain Foundation, which is now Wells Mountain Institute, and they're out of New Jersey. And so they give the tax write-off. So if you want a tax write-off in the state, you make the check out to them, you earmark it for us, and they give us the entire amount and write off the check, write off the tax write-off. And I'm on their board as well. So that's how it's okay.
So it's like an umbrella. That's how we are doing certain things.
It's an umbrella, yeah. And their president is a lawyer, by the way. So there's nothing that can go on funny between them and us and them and that. Yeah.
What I'd like to do, Gail, if it was okay with you, is to open this up and let people start their videos and unmute themselves. I know there are some questions, and
Sure.
let me open this up here. So everyone, I think I just changed the security so you're able to turn on your video if you have any problems. But while they're getting tuned up there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back here. Pam, Gail Hawley had a question. She said, when you were talking about Guayabo, she was talking about how could it be what do you mean it could be a library without any books? And I think that was so maybe you want to address that. I want to understand what she meant by that library without books. And she's talking about Guayabo. And Gail, I don't know if you want to talk about the experience we had there, but it was pretty mind-blowing. But over to you, Gail.
So do you think it's a library?
Yeah.
I do, because you get downloads.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
I used to get downloads that were so powerful that the next day, whatever was supposed to happen, whatever was predicted would happen. And I often go there when I'm saying I'm between projects or between things, and I go and I talk, in my mind or out loud, and I say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And the other thing is animals. There's every time we had it when you all were there, there's animals, and I know that those animals are bringing messages. So we had a hawk standing on a tall one-stalk tree way up, watching over us the whole time we were there. Mm-hmm. And then we had of playful monkeys that we were amused with. And then we had we
had a butterfly.
Another animal. Do we have just those?
There were
two?
A lot of birds singing.
Oh,
also.
The butterfly. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I go there and I open my mind up, and then I say, what is the message that I'm supposed to be getting from this animal who thank you for coming?
It was so funny.
So that's why.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's why it's a library, because it's full of knowledge, important knowledge.
I would say that the library, for Gail Hawley's benefit, Gail Nystrom calls it a library, maybe of ancient wisdom. Kathy Mason would say it's the Akashic Records. Neil Donald Walsh would say it's God talking to you. They're all of that information. And Barbara Marks Hubbard would say it's Noosphere. You're downloading the Noosphere. And so it's a very special place for you in your journey.
Yeah. It was pretty mystical and magical, because we were there and we were in this meadow, just enjoying the beauty of this of the monument there. And it was very quiet. And then all of a sudden there was rustling in the trees, and we were like, what's going on? And then it was a troop of white-faced monkeys that came through. that were hanging from the tree, and there are big ones, there are small ones. One walked out into the greenway, and and then that hawk was like Gail, you called it a sentinel. It was just like flying back and forth over us. And at the end, I went and looked at all, here we have our animal identification. I couldn't find any of those animals on there. Well, the butterfly, but it was like this amazing, it was like we were the greatest show on earth going on.
Yeah.
And then it got very quiet. Got very quiet. And then this American couple, came out and just like read the placard and left. And it was like, they knew they were coming and the show was over. Oh, I see Kate's trying to show us something there. Is that? What's
This
that,
is
Kate?
an ancient rattle that came from Guayabo when Rosemary
No
took
way.
me there. Yes, I bought it. It's not old, it's a replica. But I bought it
Yeah.
in the little gift shop at Guayabo. So thank you, Gail, for what you're doing. Yeah, it's so intricately built. It has holes in the eyes. So when you spoke of the animals, this is a representative. And then it almost looks like an elephant this way.
Oh, yeah.
And it has holes here. And that's what I noticed about their things. They're like duplicate ability. And then here, of course, you see the jaguar nose kind of thing. Anyway, I've never been able to play it very well, but the beak,
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like the toucan.
Wow.
Guayabo was significant to me too. Yeah, so when you were saying, is it a library? I thought it's such a natural library.
Yeah.
I remember we were fixated on these they were leaf cutter ants that
Oh, yeah.
we observed for
Yes.
a long time. Anyway, had to get out my prop.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks, Kate. Wow.
I'm going to read a comment that came in from Olivia. She says, how wonderful, Gail, that you have included Bree in these wonderful books. This moves me very much. Seeing the smiles of these children and women is so heartwarming, knowing that they have come from and ingeniously figuring out how to feed 2,000 people. You mentioned your vision involved the Pleiades too, yes? Did that have a special meaning for you in your amazing life? Thank you for all you do. And that's Olivia right there.
Oh my goodness, the more I live and the more I open up, the more I never talked about any of this stuff in years ago because people would think I was kooky. And now there's more and more kookies. But I love the Bree. I love those people. They call themselves the seed people because they believe that they came from the stars, sort of, and the stardust landed in their mountain. I mean, I think there's a lot of native populations that believe that also, but these people, there's something about them that it's so far from New Jersey, thank God.
Hey, Kathy Mason wanted to jump in here too. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Gail.
No, I mean, I love them, and I'm working on probably living back there.
Wow.
May I say something?
Please,
Sure.
Please.
Go on, Kathy, is that okay? My spiritual teacher is from a tribe, the Cherokee, that came from the Pleiades. So I was very struck because she was actually very involved with helping the Bree in 1992 regain their right to their citizenship in Costa Rica, as well as other indigenous tribes. And she helped them form an NGO with the UN. And what's interesting is she went into the jungle because telepathically she was receiving these messages from Porfirio, who was the tribal leader. and she brought him back. They went in and, canoes with the Bribri, bringing them in, and they met with everybody and were treated like, queens. My friends were with, assisting her, two of my women friends. And they had to figure out, how can you help the children learn to read in a jungle when paper doesn't, will disappear. You can't use the same materials. So I'm fascinated by how you've created a Montessori school and reading materials and everything, and also that you've included the Bribri. And then she brought them back. She brought Porfirio back to this interfaith colloquium, where in the cathedral, Basilica de Los Angeles, he was able to give prayers for the first time in his language with the Dalai Lama and with Venerable Tahani present. And the whole church was filled with the Bribri and the indigenous people. So I'm so moved by what you say about how your heart is touched by the Bribri and you want to go live there. Because I'm coming to Costa Rica partly because I really want to learn more about this amazing, amazing event that happened, and also these people. They're so precious. So thank you so much. Sorry, Kathy, go ahead.
Gail, did you want to answer or say anything to that before I ask a question?
So were they at the Basilica in Cartago? What church were they at? Do you know?
The Basilica de Los Angeles.
So the Bribri were at the Basilica of Los Angeles with the Dalai Lama.
The Dalai Lama was there, my teacher was there, and all these spiritual leaders in 1992. And they also were at the University of Peace. And
Okay, so that was
writing a book about it, and I'm helping people tell their stories, because they're involved with a peace village, Cherokee and Buddhist peace village in Vermont, where I'm on the board. One of the reasons I'm coming to Costa Rica is because I'm writing this book, and I'm going to be so grateful to interview people who were there.
So this is big. This is very big.
Yes.
What you're saying.
Yes, and like you, I'm trying to just be silent and be a hollow reed and just listen to spirit. I had no idea this was going to happen, and there are a lot of synchronicities, but I'm just very humble and so glad that Bob and Noel pulled me into this a couple of years ago during COVID. So I hope to see you. I don't know.
1992 Peace Conference.
Yeah.
No, you have to, yeah. In that 1992 Peace Conference, I was in charge of the children's part of that program. And that's where I met Barbara Hubbard, the Dalai Lama.
Wow. Oh, that makes me cry. Wow. I hope I can arrange my travels to come and see your wonderful place.
Barbara Hubbard.
Yeah, I hope that when my husband are there in the middle of March, that we can somehow arrange with Bob and Noel's help to figure it out, to come and see you, Gail, because I was so moved when they told me your story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Gail, they're going to be staying with Bonnie most of the time, and then also with Rosemary. So Gail also lives relatively close to Bonnie, but the Carpio is maybe a half hour from here. Yeah. Study that website because it's amazing. Study her website, and I'm also gonna say that she had one of their they had another tragedy in the community that one of their associates there, he was picking stuff off the garbage trucks that might be interested. In fact, I don't know if it was the same one that brought stuff into you, Gail, that they see that somebody might be able to reuse or sell. And he fell from the truck and and died. And so they're collecting funds for his funeral. And so there is a donate page on her foundation if anyone feels called to help. But anything CCC is going to make a donation, because every year we do that after our annual convention, because we usually give it to, Tree Sisters or different organizations. But we will also make a donation, because we just, are just so touched by the work that you're doing. Bob would like to get some other voices in here. So
Kathy, who's next?
Well, I wrote something, but I wanted to know, Gail, my daughter was in the Peace Corps for 3 years in Namibia in Africa. And those were the years where you didn't get to pick where you went. It was a lottery. I mean,
Well, I didn't either. Really.
you can now. Well, they brought everybody home from COVID. So I don't know if they're even in full bloom, although I get the magazine still. But anyway, back then I was part of a group event where Rotary was trying to partner with the Peace Corps, because they want to do international projects and they need people on the ground to manage them. They can't, for years they were just giving money, and the local governments just took the money and didn't do the projects. And I wondered if you had, so I wondered if you had tried to connect with Rotary, because they do annual giving to international projects. Also, Zonta International, I was a past president of Zonta, and they're like Rotary, only it's based in Chicago, and they do international projects as well. So I thought those might be 2 opportunities for funding for you.
Okay, so I was talking about Rotary. The issue that we had with Rotary was that they had to have a partner Rotary in this country. And the partner Rotaries in this country are not so reliable, and they take 3 years to get the funding through to you. And I mean, if I'm asking for funding, it's because I need it now, not because I need it in 3 years. So we sort of dropped working with Rotary, but I would be willing to give it a go again. It would be fine.
Well, there might be a backlog, and the other organization that I was part of is called Zonta, Z-O-N-T-A. They're an NGO. They work with the socio-economic councils at the UN. I was past president of the Boulder one many moons ago. But it's like what before Rotary let women in, Zonta was. So that's another one, and they've got to have pent up demand with that being in lockdown for 2-3 years.
yeah.
Okay, that's great information. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll look up that organization. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rotary you might, I don't know, my daughter's been back for maybe 8 years, but it was 8 years ago probably that I knew about
Z-O-N-T-E or Z-O-N-T-A?
TA.
Yeah.
It's based out of Chicago. If you need help, just let me know.
Yep, I just put it in the chat and on the Facebook also. There you go.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. I'll look it
Okay.
up.
And then Pam wanted to jump in here. Pam, go ahead. She had a couple questions.
Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah, thank you.
I never heard of Zonta.
Me either. Oh,
So a couple of questions, like, I just want to clarify, NGO, is that nonprofit global organization? That what that what does that mean?
Non-governmental organization.
Yeah, non-governmental organization. It means they're a nonprofit, but they're not part of the government, but they align with the governments.
Mhm.
It's a special designation. You have to
Yeah.
go through hoops to get it. It's not, you can't just
Very
claim you are.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that there's an organization here that's actually like 30 minutes from us. It's called Jake's Network for Hope. And they started by providing cloth diapers all over the globe. And that is something that is still going on. They also provide local support for our local counties, but I'm wondering if that is something that you are in need of, is cloth diapers for infants and toddlers.
so we have a sewing group of abuelas, grandmothers who sew cloth diapers and also cloth sanitary pads for women. The problem is that the water in the houses is not reliable. And so where do you wash off a poopy diaper? There's nowhere to wash it off. And so it's more of a hygiene problem than it solves a hygiene problem.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is something.
We should
I
mention,
mean, you don't,
go ahead, Gail.
I think, Gail, you had a question about the homes or the buildings that,
Pam.
gonna
Yeah.
happen.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. One other question is, like, I was curious as to in this community, somebody is in need of a home. Do they buy into the home? Does the organization buy the homes? Like, how does that ownership happen?
Great question. Land ownership and titling is tricky. The community is divided into 9 sections. Each section has a board, president, vice secretary, and vocal. And they have legal right to say, Maria sold the house to Jose. And then they seal it with a stamp. And so that is about as legal as you can. So own, I'm a slum landlord. I own 30 houses in that community because we put it in the foundation's name so that to avoid the people selling it, like doing speculation, sell it, but tell me that they need a house and then they go sell it because they want the money. And then after a year or so, then it goes back, it goes to them. So what you're buying, our first houses cost like $100 because they were just tin slats. And now the community has grown so prosperous that houses are $20,000 in there. I ain't buying that. There's no way I'm going to buy a $20,000 house for somebody, but do continue to buy at the level we can buy, which is $4,000, and then the people improve the house. Right? So right now, for example, I am looking for a house to give to one of our male workers because he's been named by child welfare as the adopted parent, father of 8 different children. He's in charge of the care of 8 children, and he needs orphans.
Wow. God bless them.
He needs a home where those kids can go and hang out, can cook a meal, can talk to him, and eventually get some volunteers in there to talk to them. So that's what I'm looking for now, and it's going to be hard because the housing, the prices have gone up so much.
Wow. Yeah, that's all through Costa Rica. You know, everybody says, oh, it's such a bargain in Costa Rica. No,
No bargains anymore. No.
no. But okay, I have to tell you one other thing about Gail and her girls. They put on shows. They put on what, 6 different shows a year? I love that. I love live theater.
Young women.
The young women, and they showed us their storyboard for the story of Anne Frank. And it just was so imaginative, so creative, so inspiring, you know, just bring, you know, tears to your eye and their pride in it. But you do, I mean, you really have to go to her website and study it. There's so much, and I don't know if you can even contain everything there, Gail. It's just pretty amazing. But we're also have on the wish list there is also for a new headquarters for the Costa Rican Humanitarian Foundation. So that looking for some funding for that as well. So let me see here. I'm guessing that Gail and Rita know each other.
Yeah, we do. Hi.
Wow, really?
And we know Rita too, because she came to one of our CCCs.
Rita's been a very,
Wow.
very dear benefactor for our work.
Yeah,
Well,
Rita,
it's a
do you want to
small
put your
world.
voice in the,
Barbara, you know.
Yeah, hi Gail, hi Bob, Noel, and everyone. Yeah, this is the magic of Zoom, right? Here we're zooming around. Yeah, it was able to see you all in person there in Colorado a few years ago.
Mhm.
Originally down in Southern California when Barbara was doing a presentation kind of near the LA airport.
Mhm.
That's when I met Bob, had a great tip on a place to eat lunch during a break.
that Greek place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
the good place around the corner. Yeah.
And then I've yet to meet Gail in person, but we get together a couple times a month on Zoom with another sort of Barbara inspired group called the Global Communion Call
Mhm.
Mhm.
that Bonnie Kelly and some other folks are on. So there you are, small world.
There's
Yep,
Barbara
yep.
for you.
There's Barbara for you, connecting people everywhere still. And we're kind of hinting at the idea that our co-creators convergence in-person event this fall will be in Costa Rica. It called us so much to be there last month, and there were so many amazing synchronicities and surprises, Gail included, and learning about the foundation. So Rita, this might be your year to go to Costa Rica.
We'll see. Thanks for the invite. You're always so hospitable. I
You
appreciate
bet.
it.
Yeah, Gail, if you put a good word in for us at the mini fundo.
Yeah.
We did send something to Eleanor to see if that might be a possibility in like August, October, or November to have to go to the mini fundo.
Now, Victoria Bard also asked in the chat about, and you can come on the mic if you want to, Victoria. She was asking about book donations.
Yeah, but then I heard about how paper disintegrates, so then I thought, probably not. But do you want
we
any
have-
books?
Right now, I have over 3,000 books. And so I don't really need books, but I'll always take them and find a home for them.
What kind of books do you want if you had more?
Simple books, simple children's books.
So children's books.
So here's the thing is, some children's books are very culturally specific. You know, like a child living in a mountain in Amubri is not going to understand a book about a child having bullying problems in Chicago. I mean, as it could be a learning experience for them, but it wouldn't necessarily mean that much to them. So that's why in my project, we're going to have the people write their own books. It's for, by, and about Indigenous children or people, the books. So we hope you can hold off a little bit on donations of books for a while, I think, but I'll let you know when we need more. You can never
Okay.
have enough books, I say.
So only books for children, not any for teens or adults or healing books or
No.
nothing like that. Okay.
5 more minutes.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Well,
I have one other thing that, because we have to go.
yeah, go ahead, Gail.
But I have one more thought for everybody. I have been doing a lot of death work. It of course started with COVID and all this. I never did get COVID, by the way, but I believe that the future requires renegotiating our relationship with death. That we need to experience how death is beneficial, even in its pain, and how death works to bring us together and to demand changes in the way we treat each other. A murder, a mass shooting. This boy that got underneath the truck and got killed. I learned so much. I go to the places where the people have died, and it's been years. When I worked with the Salvadorian kids, they would come to me and tell me the most horrendous stories about how their parents were murdered. And we need to not have that happen anymore, Oh, I gotta get water. So that's my final one. My voice ran out. So anyways, that's something that I think we should all consider and find our North Star about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gail,
Rita has, yeah.
would it be okay if I get in touch with you through Bob and Noel to see if we can visit?
Just get in touch with me directly.
Yeah.
Do you have your contact
You have my
info?
phone number. Noel, you have my phone number.
Yeah, I'll get it to you, Olivia. No worries. No
Thank you.
worries. Rita, you wanted to say something?
Oh, yeah, Gail, any updates on that other property that you were hoping to?
Oh, it's just every day I am more and more convinced of it. It's just got to happen. I found the house of my dreams and the house that has to be. And I've got 2 real estate agents working on the other house that I live in now to sell it. And the donor, I have a very generous donor, but he's not that generous that he's going to give me that much money. But he said, if you sell your other house and you get closer to your goal, get in touch with me.
Beautiful.
So I'm working on selling the house I have now. Okay, bye.
I want to know if she's going to timeshare it.
Okay, I have people.
They're kicking her out of the-
Yeah, we got to go in on that.
No, I'm not going to timeshare it, but I have 2. It has 2 for
Isn't it 2 other apartments or something, or 2 different bedroom sort of things?
the house. It's a house, yeah, different bedrooms. Yeah. So there's 2 twin rooms, each with their own bathroom.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
She's getting guidance, but it's from guidance at the hotel.
Yeah, looks like we got to wrap this up.
I have people that are.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. They're gone. they left. But so that's where it is now, and I have the greatest faith in the world that this house is going to be mine. And if it doesn't become mine, it's because something greater.
That or something greater.
Thank you
That's
for
right.
asking, Rita.
Always that or
Yeah.
something better. Yep.
We're holding the vision for you, with you. So, well, thank you everyone for coming. I hope you will go and look at Gail's website. It's tremendous. The work is tremendous. There's just not enough superlatives, and it's just really, you just really touched our hearts, Gail. Thank you so much for the time that you spent with us, the gift of your time. How you,
Precious.
it was precious.
Priceless.
How we ever rated that, I don't know, but we're so grateful. So thank you so much for everyone for spending this precious evening together.
See, I'm grateful to you because you validate what I think. I have these thoughts and I go, oh, come on, Gail, who does that? And then I see people say, you do it, right? So thank you.
Yeah.
You do it. So thank you
Yes,
so
indeed.
much. Good night, everyone. Thank
Good
you
night.
for
Thank
being
you, Gail.
here.
Thank you.
We're going to have a wonderful guest next week, Jeannie White Eagle with Leanne Interstellar University. So she's, vision, scope, and purpose. So we're going to go to the university with the ETs, I guess. The Pleiades are going to come in. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Much love to you, Gail. Thank you so much for
We'll
your
be in touch
time.
soon.
Love you.
Good night.
Good night.
May peace prevail on earth.
May peace prevail on earth.